And if you don't mind, I'll demonstrate. First off, you start your knees and your hips at the top of the swing, lower part of your body. Arms and hands follow, bringing you into position to hit.
Yes, indeed. A big hello and welcome back or to the Course Language Podcast. It is all thanks to our very good friends at Callaway. If you're an existing member, welcome back. If you're joining us for the first time, great to have you playing as we discuss everything that's happening in the wonderful world of golf. Sam Hargraves is my name, golf commentator, Golf Tragic. Joined as always by the man who played on tour, won on tour. He commentates on the tour. He teaches others to hopefully do the same one day as well. Ryan Lynch. Hello, mates.
Hello, Sammy. It's going to be a wet old week here in Melbourne, but in fact, it was pretty wet at the Travellers this week as well. A little bit of delay and whatnot. We've had a major during the week. A lot of golf going on over the weekend. How are you, mate, first of all?
Very good. A little sleep deprived. As you know, we've got a 14-month-old who just refuses to sleep through the night. So that puts you in a really good space just in general, but especially when you're heading out onto the course to play. So it's no surprise that the amazing form run that I was in has absolutely come to an end. Third round in a row this week, below 30 points. I had an 8 down, and then this week I had a 29-pointer in Stableford. So not in the greatest of nick at the minute, but
That's
we
all right.
persevere.
This
Attitude's
is the way
been good though.
This is the way the game goes. It's not a linear progression, mate. It's pits and troughs. As long as the upswing you get at the end of the year is higher than your previous upswing, you're off and racing. Look at it in the macro sense. So you've done some good learning over the last few weeks with your mental attitude. Just wait for the physical to come back and you'll be off and racing, mate.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll be okay. I've got a couple of things that happened in the round that I just played that I'm going to save for the Course Language Confessional. There is a fair bit to get through this week, but we normally say this stuff at the end, but just a reminder that if you are in the market for a new Callaway Quantum driver and you go and get one today, they'll be able to throw in a dozen of the Chrome Tour golf balls with you. And the other great special happening at Callaway at the moment is buy 8 pieces of the Quantum range, which Lynchy and I both use to varying degrees of success. If you go and buy 8 pieces of the Quantum range, there's a free Callaway bag in the offering for you as well. All the details on the Callaway socials. Check that out. And if you are in the market for Travis Matthew and you are in the checkout, use Course Language 20 at checkout to get yourself 20% off Travis Matthew and OGO gear. Lynchy, it's going to be a shorter around the grounds because as we record this, we don't have a result at the Travellers. So let's get into around the grounds.
And in her first start, after a 6-week break from minor surgery, Haeran has returned in major fashion.
So as I say, we're eagerly anticipating a 9 a.m. US time restart to the Travellers. Elevated event, Lynchy, and it was actually been a really good tournament. Scotty Scheffler sinking an 8-footer on the last to force a playoff with the overnight leader, Victor Hovland, and they'll duke it out after rain ended the day this morning our time.
They will indeed, yeah. Fascinating watch, really. Nice to see Victor Hovland bounce back and play some good golf. Did you see that Rory was out at Royal Birkdale this week as well, rather than playing this much loved event by the members on the tour?
Well, that's been the trend for him throughout the course of the year. That's what he's done for every major, and it continues on. He's now not played enough of the signature events to meet the minimum requirements this year, but from all the reports, that's fine. We'll just wave it away. Yeah. It's good when you can make up your own rules as you go along, isn't it?
Yeah, look, I mean, he's paid his penance, I guess, and we'll talk about this a little bit later on in the news, which we heard last week from Brian Rollitt, the CEO, coming out and just kind of outlining a little bit of what the PGA Tour will look like from 2028 onwards, what that might mean for us Australians and international players on the world stage as we get to the news. But, of course, the big event of the week, mate, which we need to spend a little bit of time on, there was another major this week.
Yeah, there was, and a player who's winning her first ever major, South Korea's Haeran Ryu. 2-shot win in the end after a 2-under final round. She kept in a unit bay, and Brooke Henderson as well, who won this event 10 years ago. at a course that where Hannah Green won her PGA Championship, and unfortunately she didn't make the cut, and neither did Minjee Lee, the defending champ. But what did you make of the tournament? What did you make of the course?
Well, I mean, I thought the course held up pretty nicely. It's always great to watch the women play a major event on a course that you know well from obviously the men playing at Hazeltine at PGAs and whatnot. But obviously the story of the week was Nelly Korda coming in. Could she win her third major of the year? Really good effort, really. Finished in a tie for 8th at 6 under par, I believe it was. So it wasn't to be for Nelly. So the Grand Slam is off the cards for this year, but she certainly seems a lot more calm, a little bit more jovial, having now obviously knocked off that US Women's Open. She's still obviously riding high from that. Such a career accomplishment. But I think that the Women's PGA sits right, probably just underneath it in terms of the major that the women want to win. And of course, we had Carice Davidson, top Aussie, who performed brilliantly. She was playing with Nelly Korda in the last 2 rounds, actually. So really well done to her, finishing a couple of shots behind Nelly in the final race. But as you said, Haeran Ryu was your winner. This is her first major, as you mentioned off the top. It's her 4th LPGA Tour victory. She's now won in each of her last 4 seasons on the LPGA as well. So amazing effort from her. She did it pretty easily in the end, coming down the stretch. Certainly made it look easy, but her putter was just absolutely on song early on in the round, and I think that was where she separated herself.
Yeah, I really enjoyed watching that tournament down the stretch. I often find that for some reason, it's probably just because of the distances and clubs and everything like that, the professional women are using, which they out-hit me, obviously, but I still find it more relatable. Like I can sort of see it, and they're like, 8 iron, 145, oh yeah, that's sort of around, and then you sort of can sort of see it for yourself, where it, as we know, there's just I've just got no frame of reference on that stuff when it comes to the men's side of it. So I really enjoyed that part of it. It was great watching, and the course looked magnificent. Brooke Henderson, sort of watching her, the way that she won that 10 years ago when they were showing the highlights, it was the complete opposite this time around, because nothing went her way when everything 10 years ago was going her way. And amazing, 50 footers from off the green and all this kind of stuff. She just couldn't land on one down the stretch. No. So the drama was pretty high, and Ryu was just able to keep them all pretty much at bay. And Dewey Weber was a golfer I didn't know a whole lot about, but she had her best ever finish in a major. Could have gone outright second, but a bogey on the last. But Solheim Cup spot she's just roared into contention for. So that was pretty exciting for her.
Yeah.
Can we just...
So Rue was actually outside the cut line after round 1. She changed back to her original putter and putted the dots off it for the final 3 rounds, and ended up winning by 2. So, yeah, fascinating watch. Really enjoyed it. As I said, Carice Davidson, T12, 5 under par. Lydia Ko, 1 shot behind her in a tie for 15th. Grace Kim at 1 under par in a tie for 24th. And that Robin Choi was in a tie for 48th in terms of our Aussies over there.
A quick little shout out too on the LET. Justice Bosio lost the Czech Open in a playoff, but this is her best ever performance. I commentated her getting a win last year, I reckon it was, in the regional qualified at Narrabri. Born in the NT, came through the Queensland system. Early 20s, has played her way in to the LET through the Access Series with good results there. And now this is her second top 10 finish in an LET event. Just another Aussie doing really well on the Women's European Tour especially. And, just watching those naturally progress onto the LPGA, we're in such good shape. I know people are talking a lot about are our men's golfers, are they doing as well as they should? I think we get startled by some of those results, but then don't realise that we actually have more, other than the US, we actually have more than just about any other country competing in those majors, like representation-wise. And so we bat above our average, but we are stacked on women's golf. Like with what Kelsey Bennett and other players, Steph Bunky we've been speaking about. There's a really exciting wave of early 20s, mid-20s Australian women's golfers coming coming through the LET and then with eyes on the LPGA. It's really exciting. So well done to her.
Yeah, and I think we'll talk about this later on, but it's part of the pathways. It feels like it's getting harder and harder to progress up to the US Tour, where it used to be a Q school. If you got through Q school, you could get straight onto the US Tour. It just takes a lot longer now. So you've got to go either through the DP World Tour or through the Corn Ferry Tour, which is totally different golf in a lot of respects to the US Tour. And certainly your rookie year on the US Tour was quite difficult from what I understand. But at least you could get onto the US Tour with one good run at Q school. So maybe the difference in the men's and the women's game in that respect is highlighting maybe why we don't have that same level of talent that we used to have from an Australian perspective playing on that tour. So well done to Justice Bosio. I mean, she contended at the Aussie Open a couple of years ago at Kingston Heath as well early in the session. So well done to her. Some great playing coming out of Australia as always. The DP World Tour had some familiar live player names on it, Sammy.
Yeah, so the event at the Italian Open at Soccolo Golf Torino, Eugenio Lopez-Chacarra, it was a 5-shot runaway winner in the end over Englishman Matt Wallace. But Joaquin Niemann in outright third is probably the most prominent of those, Lynchy, that you've mentioned. Best of the Aussies, Kazuma Kabori, well, Kiwi, but T19 for Kazuma. And Jack Buchanan was the best of the Australian players at T35, Elvis Smiley T41. But there were a couple other notable players in and amongst that leaderboard, Lynchy.
Yeah, there were. I mean, first of all, Catanzaro, that's his second win on the DP World Tour this year. He catapults himself up into third on the Race to Dubai rankings. He's only played 5 events, so look out for this kid, an absolute superstar. But yeah, certainly Matt Wallace in second place, and then Joaquin Niemann, he was in contention all week, really. And you can just see number of those live guys jumping across, getting their points up for the DP World Tour, just maybe a sign of things to come potentially.
Lynchy, I want to play you a couple of little grabs here because I want to get your view on this. So 2 people in 2 very different parts of their career, but I reckon with sentiment that you can very much relate to. So I'm just going to play them back to back. The first one's Bryson DeChambeau talking about missing, it's from his YouTube, talking about missing 3 cuts in 3 majors this year. But the other one is a guy called Pablo Larrazábal, who spoke really just emotionally and earnestly about the grind of being a tour player on the DP World Tour and just trying to make a cut.
You missed 3 straight cuts now.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Not good enough golf. We could say it's unlucky. We could say, bad judgment. We could say bad swings and all that. But ultimately, it comes down to me making better decisions, having a couple things go more my way, and, me being more comfortable over the golf ball.
I got kind of a hot one for you.
Yeah.
YouTube and live golf.
Oh, yeah.
Are those affecting your game?
No, those
And
aren't.
what do you say to the people that say you care more about content than professional golf?
Yeah, I mean, look, everybody's going to have their opinion on it, but I can tell you I've been working harder on my game this past year after the Masters than I have in the past 3-4 years. I put one foot in front of the other and keep going. There's not much more I can do than that. Just last year, this time, before the US Open, I was one of the best major championship performers in the world. Come 1 year later, everybody says I'm the worst. It just is what it is.
You spoke yesterday about just getting back to basics and playing more freely out there. How does that shift in mindset really help you moving forward?
I tell you what, I didn't play any free today. Oh man, I was shaking more than any time in my career. I tried to play free, but then the little overdraws were coming, and 15 yards or 20 yards left of the flag, I made a bogey there, and I thought, man, again those. I don't know how you call it, but in Spanish, the ghost behind telling you. So, but I pull it off at the end. So let's have fun over the weekend go low because my game is a lot better than what my result is saying.
So, Lynchy, two players in two very different places in their career. Bryson DeChambeau, who's missed all three cuts in the majors this year, was contending in them and won one in recent times as well. The YouTube, the Live, and all of that comes in. And then Pablo, who at one stage was beating some of the best players in the world in his 9 wins on the DP World Tour, but now just trying to make a cut to make money, to live, to get to the next tournament.
Yeah.
What were your takeaways from that as someone who's lived, especially what Pablo has?
Yeah, well, I've never been at the level that either of them are, first of all. Let me just say that off the top. But, I mean, if you haven't seen the interviews or they haven't come across your threads, go and watch them in full. But you couldn't get more polarizing or more opposite feelings when you're watching those two videos. I just found Bryson's a little bit, someone or his publicist or someone has said, hey, this would be a good idea to kind of get the public back on your side, try to be a bit vulnerable, tell us what's going on in your mind. I mean, it sat there like a 60-minute interview. And I mean, come on, mate. No one, it just felt a bit phony. And I don't know, look, I don't want to bash him. If it wasn't phony, then that's fine. But it just stunk of a little bit of a, let's get this out there into the world to give you more of a human element so that people stop bagging you for missing 3 cuts in a row. Fair dinkum.
Do you ever see Jerry Maguire when there's that scene at the airport where Tom Cruise, Cuba Gooding Jr. are watching that show where the guy's on there blubbering going, no one understands the pressure that $50 million comes with, and Cuba Gooding goes, now this is some bullshit. That's what I felt like when I was watching that. I felt like it was that scene out of Jerry Maguire.
I haven't seen the movie. I'm sorry. I don't understand the pop culture reference. I'm sorry. But exactly right. I've just got to put one foot in front of the other. I still dominated the long drive. I still dominated that aspect or that statistic. I've just got to get everything else right. And all right, mate, no worries. Whereas if we jump across to Larrazábal, you could see the emotion in his face. You could see and feel how much it meant to him to make a cut. And this is the difficulty in professional golf, sometimes when you're struggling, and amateur golf for that matter. When you're struggling, it just doesn't ever feel like it's going to come back. And often you'll be 2 or 3 shots from the lead, but also 2 or 3 shots from the cut. And when you're struggling with your game, you're thinking way more about the 2 or 3 shots from the cut line than you are about trying to get into the lead. So I just found that a really fascinating insight, and I'm sorry to kind of polarize or go kind of one for the other there, but you had some true emotion, raw emotion, and honest feedback that I felt like Larrazábal was giving. And you had a little bit of a sob story from Bryson sitting there in his T-shirt with his hair done, trying to ask for some sympathy from the golfing public and to somewhat answer the question of whether or not YouTube or Live Golf is affecting his play in the majors. Clearly, he is a world-class player. He's going to figure it out, but they were pretty polarizing, but totally can relate. And so can you. When you're struggling with your game, you just can't see the leaderboard. You're more worried about the bad things that could potentially happen rather than the good things that could potentially happen. And that felt pretty real, and that resonated with me pretty strong, because just felt like no matter what I did towards the end of my playing days, I found myself around that cut line every single week.
How did you manage it mentally?
Not as well as I would manage it now. I really struggled because you're trying to put food on the table. You're trying to provide for your family. You're trying to provide for yourself. You're trying to give yourself some reward for all the effort that you've been putting in, and the pressure builds and builds and builds. And I can guarantee you that the WA PGA that I won, I was feeling a lot less stressed over the ball in that last round than I would have in a second round trying to make the cut at an Australian Open, for example, when I'm right on the borderlines. I think Tommy Fleetwood says it best in terms of just going back. What did I do well? What do I need to work on? What did I do well? What do I need to work on? Because you just get a little bit too results-based. You lose the process. You lose what you're what you have achieved, and you start looking at outcomes to justify the practice that you're doing. And then it becomes quick fixy, like we all do at the driving range. Go down, try and find it, try and find something. You stop working towards something. So really important to keep yourself working towards something, regardless of whether you're in an up or a down swing at the moment.
All right, let's get into the scramble.
I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing. I'm a great scramble partner. I don't want a piece of you. I want the whole thing. Yeah, I did a few things here and there.
Now, normally on Course Language, thanks to Callaway, Lynchy, we bring an idea to debate and then we throw it around. You don't have any idea what I'm going to bring. I don't have any idea what you're going to bring. But we're going to put all the news of the week plus our debate into an overall segment called The Scramble. I probably didn't even need to explain all that, but that's what we're doing now with The Scramble. It's everything happening all at once. So let's start off with the biggest news story of the week, and that is what will happen in 2028 with the restructure of the PGA Tour. You have gone through every bit of this in fine detail. Tell us what's happening and why it's happening.
I'm not sure about every single detail, but as much as what the PGA Tour have released so far, and I think they're going to release it in drips and drabs and get a bit of a feel for the public sentiment, because it really does feel like they're putting forth what the fans want to see. And I think they may have overstepped the mark a little bit in terms of maybe talking about golf courses when they shouldn't have. Some of the biggest and most prestigious golf courses on the planet they named in what they want their final piece of the year to look like. So first of all, I think that they're coming from the right place in terms of what fans want to see. We want golf to be very easy to follow. We want golf to be as simple as, think of the Premier League in soccer. You're either in the Premier League or you're in the next league or the next league underneath that, and you've got the ability to get promoted or drop down. And essentially that's what they've done. I'm not 100% sure this works super well for any international professional golfer, but in a nutshell, let me just break it down before I get into that. We're going to have two separate tracks. So the Championship Series, which will be the top 130 players in the world, or at least the top 130 players on the PGA Tour. This will consist of 23 to 24 events, including majors and the team events. So Ryder Cup, President's Cup. So 23 to 24 events. There will be underneath that the Challenger Series, which will be the next 144 or 150 man fields essentially. So there are two different tours running concurrently. And if you're in the Championship Series, you cannot play in the Challenger Series. If you're in the Challenger Series, you cannot play in the Championship Series. The only way to get from the Challenger Series, which is the second track, into the Championship Series in the same year is win a major or win twice on the Challenger Series. So both events or both tours now, thankfully, are back to full field cut events, which is just incredibly important. Obviously, when we're talking about players going up and down, we need to know where everything sits. So you're following with me so far, Sammy?
I've got you.
Got me loud and clear. So the Championship Series will be played for $20 million minimum, is what Brian Rollup was saying. So potential for more. The Challenger Series will be playing for $4 million each week, which is a big jump up from the Corn Ferry Tour, which I think is like 1.5. So big jump up in that space, but obviously a lot more people that are trying to play in that area. And Championship Series will have some cuts and, again, huge prize purse in that space. I'd be surprised if they get any more than 20 million, mate. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, I think it makes sense. I think it's, at the moment it seems to be just we'll make this up as we go along. Oh, you want to play in this? Well, I'll get a sponsor to give you a spot in.
Yeah.
Are you not playing? Oh, okay, well, we'll just excuse that and wave that away. It seems pretty clear at the moment. I think there's a lot of questions that haven't been answered in all of this. And I'd be curious to get the answers to these questions. So selfishly, how do Australians qualify? Is this easier or harder for them to get on to the PGA Tour? What's the future of the DP World Tour alignment? Do the top 10 that finish in the order of merit on the DP World Tour, do they get onto the primary tour or the secondary tour?
Yeah.
I want to know how the season will be spaced out, because it seems like it's going to be a lot of events, bang, 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 major, bang, 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 bang. Like do they need to have a breather in there somewhere, like a mid-season break or something along those lines, so the players don't get particularly burnt out, especially if, and this is my next question, how do they have to play on the do they have to play on the International Open Series at the end of the season? That's a few of the questions that I have.
Yeah. So that season that you're talking about there will be a fall series, which will be made up of what the PGA Tour are calling national opens. So it'll be interesting to see whether or not, for example, the Canadian Open will stay as a track 1 event, whether it'll be a Challenger Series track 2 event, or whether it will be played later on in the year in that fall series. So as I understand it at the moment, the fall series will have the players as essentially a bit of a last hurrah chance to get back up into the championship series. So if you've fallen out, you've got a chance to earn your way back in. So it could potentially help, and this is where we expect the Australian Open to fall into this fall series. It could potentially get some of those bigger name players from the championship series to play some of these international opens, which would be a great result for the world and for the competition at large. But some of the things that are being thrown out are, for example, Corey Connors, who's going to be playing the championship series as a Canadian. Well, if the Canadian Open is a Challenger Series event, well, he won't be allowed to play it. And he can't play his home open if it's not in the track that he's on, which doesn't seem right to me. So they're going to have to figure that out for sure. And in terms of, hope this hasn't jumped around too much, but in terms of what the Challenger and Championship Series will end up leveraging up to, is that will culminate in what we now know as the FedEx Cup. Or it may not be called the FedEx Cup. I know the FedEx branding and sponsorship is starting to run out shortly, but there will be a year-long race that crowns the player of the year. And then from what they were explaining, after that, there will be a match play playoffs tournament, which could be awesomely fascinating.
Great. That is big tick. That is absolutely catering to fans, because we talk about this a lot. It builds storylines. It builds, imagine if someone has a blow up at some point during the year with someone else and they have to play against each other. So the way to promote the promotional opportunities with that far exceed what they currently do in my book as a fan and as a broadcaster. So I love all of that. Is there any indication of any more kind of team events? Because I think that would be another thing I'd ask. Like, you've got all this opportunity now to reshape. Are there any more opportunities for pairs or for team events to be played throughout the course of a season?
I suppose that their answer to that would be there'll be a President's Cup every year, and every other year there'll be a Ryder Cup. That would probably be the answer. I would love to see a little bit more team stuff as well.
Yeah.
But from a player's perspective now, the positive words coming out of the guys that are playing on these tours is that once you're in that championship series, you know exactly what events you're getting into. You're getting into every single one of those events, and vice versa with the Challenger Series. You don't have to be sort of jumping from here to there or not knowing what your schedule looks like for the year. It'll be locked in. You'll be able to play every single one of these events. You'll be qualified for them, and there will likely be, if you don't play in as many as someone else, significant downfalls or pitfalls in terms of your season-long race, if that's what you so desire to win. But jumping back to the thing that gets us most excited is the match play component in terms of the playoffs. So there might be 32 guys. The top 32 guys on the season-long race may qualify for this match play event. So the match play event could potentially be played, and they floated these golf courses. I'm not sure whether they'll get Pine Valley or Cypress Point, but they're talking about making it like a Walker Cup style event that has a much smaller footprint on the golf courses that put their golf courses up for a tour event, for example. So the build out that comes along with hosting an Australian Open for Royal Melbourne members is months out, stands are going up, does some damage potentially to the course. They lose their course for 2 or 3 weeks, and definitely not what these top tier clubs in the US want to happen. But if this is a made for TV product and there's 32 guys playing match play and you don't need the grandstands and it can be a members only wander around, that all of a sudden for a members course becomes a lot more palatable if you can play on the Tuesday and the event starts on the Thursday at your own club. And given that it's a match play thing, if it's televised correctly, it's a very, very easy thing to follow in terms of, okay, Sam Hargraves is playing against Ryan Lynch, and whoever wins that will progress on to the next round, and whoever wins this match play event wins the playoffs for the year and is the champion playoff contender for the year. So I'm excited about that aspect, Sammy.
No, I love that. That, to me, is the jewel in all of this, the crown. I like the ability to follow it easier. I mean, they're taking an idea that works really well in some other sports, and the great example you mentioned is the Premier League. So the idea, and then again, build suspense, build drama. Like, if it's broadcast correctly and commentated, you could be, with a couple of rounds to go, and say, this putt means that if he sinks this, he actually elevates himself above the drop zone. So what the drop zone is and how all that works, I want to see more of the finer detail. But, gee, you can build, as you say, we should be broadcasting more on the Friday of the guys who are not going to be on the weekend as opposed to the guys that are. This is essentially a bigger version of that too. So if you get those two things right in the broadcast, again, fans are going to be the beneficiaries of it. And I think for players too, just to have a clearer understanding, a much more solidified, way less grey, way more structured. I think that's win-win for fans, win-win for players, and hopefully for the world of golf. And as Greg Norman said, this is long overdue. Now, he was asked about that and has said this is years and years and years overdue, especially the recognition and the partnering with international opens and a want to be involved in that, which they've been, I think, derelict in their duties. Yes, they'll say they're an American tour, but you're not. If that's all you were, then you'd only just take American players, but you don't. You take them from all around the world. So if you're going to take from a country, absolutely fantastic, give a little back, and it looks like they're starting to do that.
And this is where it gets a little bit grey as well and difficult to manoeuvre your way around. What does the Scottish Open look like? What would an Irish Open look like? Can you get some Challenger Championship Series events abroad, which would be obviously what us as internationals would be looking for? And I just want to see a little bit more links golf or a little bit of golf outside of the US. Now, as you said, the devil will be in the details. It'll be interesting to see how many DP World Tour cards get to the Championship Series versus the Challenger Series. Will it just be number one gets onto the Championship Series? So from an Australian point of view, it's now getting harder and harder and harder and harder to elevate your way up into that stratosphere. So you just, as I said before, when you play well at Q School and you get onto that US tour, you've got a potential, or you've got the opportunity to build out the rest of your career on that US tour, and it just may be an extra step for internationals or Australians or anyone playing on the DP World Tour. You may be 3 years away from playing the highest competitive golf, which would be a real issue in my eyes. So it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out.
Last thing I want to say is don't undo all your good work by saying we're going to help highlight and promote international opens by then not allowing the marquee players from that country to play. That's an easy thing to write into the rules, that the only exemption or the only exception to the rule is if you're on one, you can't be on the other, is if you are born in the country that there is an open for, and we want you there because you are the draw. Like that might be the single dumbest thing you could do. That is the most contradictory thing I think I could think of in sport, to say, hey, we're going to help pump up your open, but your best players can't play. That's stupid.
Exactly.
That is just literally stupid.
Yeah.
So don't do that. Figure that one out pretty quick and you'll be okay.
Yeah, and I think, look, as far as fans go, of which we are, it's nice to have a meritocracy still. If you don't play well, you will be dropped. If you play well, you will elevate yourself. I'm not saying that doesn't exist. It just feels like it's a little harder. And from our point of view as well, it's going to be a lot easier to follow than the FedEx Cup is. It'll be a lot more clearly outlined throughout the year, so you know who the players on the bubble are to get up and to fall down. They were my main takeaways, and again, starts in 2028, so a lot to be figured out between now and then, Sammy.
All right, Lynchy, a bit of a different one this week. Instead of just throwing a question at you, you taking the side you want to argue, then me going back and forth, I want to do a bit of a blind ranking with you. So the thing that rankles most people is all the little etiquette faux pas that people make along the way that you play with. And we all know the do's and don'ts on a golf course, but it seems like some people forget them from time to time. So blind ranking, I'm just going to read you etiquette faux pas that people make, and you've got to tell me how they rank. So I'm going to give you
out
10.
Out of 10? Okay.
Out of 10.
Brilliant.
Slow play.
Oh, that's pretty high. I'm going to say 3.
All right, 3's off the table. Moving or talking during somebody's swing. We'll combine those two.
Oh, moving and talking during someone's swing's pretty bad. Let's go 4.
4. Giving unsolicited advice to another golfer.
That's right up there. That's higher than slow play. That's without knowing the rest of them, I'm gonna say number 2 just in case there's a worse one. That's bad.
Okay.
Unsolicited advice, no good.
Taking a phone call on course if you haven't given your playing partners a heads up that you may have to.
This one doesn't faze me as much, to be honest.
Okay.
8.
Not fixing pitch or divot marks.
That's no good either, but I don't like to see it, but it doesn't affect my day necessarily too much. I'm going to give that have I used 5?
No.
Number 5, right in the middle. Take care of the course, everyone.
Not raking bunkers.
Same thing. That's actually that's actually worse than 6. I'll have to put those back to back.
All right, 6. This is getting tight now. Not taking the flag out when closest to it on the green.
I hate this as well, to be honest. If you're not ready to take the flag out and it's my putt, I'm pretty flat on. But look, not going to ruin my day. Number 7.
Now I'm going to combine these two. The constant tantrums after hitting a bad shot. This is the golf sulk.
Oh.
Blows up, swears, throws the club, and it once or twice, but it's every time.
So this was kind of the one that I was waiting for. The golf sulk, tantrums, throwing clubs. If you're ruining someone else's day because of your attitude, that's number 1 for me. You can ruin someone's day with a golf sulk or a spit. I mean, I'll laugh for the most part, but depending on what level of competition it is, it cannot be funny as well. So that is the worst thing you can do on a golf course.
All right, stepping on someone's line, a la Cam Smith, Scotty Scheffler, or Scotty Scheffler to Cam Smith.
I don't care about this one anywhere near as much as other people would. I'm going to give that. Number 10. I don't care if you step on my line.
Oh, there we go.
Playing faster.
So that leaves not yelling 4.
What's left? It's got to be low. This would be higher if I had anything other than number 9 left. You've got to yell 4. That's just dangerous. I'd have that kind of mid-pack for sure. That is a must, but I have to put number 9 on in the blind rankings, mate. That very, very fun.
All right, so this is where you've landed. Starting at number 10, stepping on someone's line. Number 9, not yelling 4. Number 8, taking a phone call on course. Number 7, not taking out the flag when closest to it on the green. Number 6, not raking bunkers. Number 5, not fixing pitch or divot marks. Number 4, moving or talking during someone's swing. Number 3, slow play. Number 2, unsolicited advice. And the worst of the golfing etiquette crimes, according to Ryan Lynch, is constant tantrums after a bad shot, the golf sulk.
I'm actually pretty happy with that top 5,
bad.
to be honest. The not yelling 4, if I could put that up into like the not fixing pitch marks and divots, I'm happy to fix a couple of extra pitch marks or divots. Not yelling 4 is dangerous. I don't like that. But everything else, I'm actually not too
pretty good.
Too disappointed about. Particularly the golf sulk that lasts for several holes, where you don't even feel, or you're walking on eggshells in your own group. That's the worst thing you can do.
We're going to chuck that up on Instagram, but let us know what you think when we post it, or you can write to us, courselanguagepodcast@gmail.com. We're on Instagram, @courselanguagepod, if you wanted to get in touch with us that way. We've got some great listener feedback too, which we're going to go through next week, because we're fast running out of time today, but I thought we would finish, as we always do, Lynchy, with a Course Language Confessional, all thanks to Callaway. I got this one sent to me, and it's a little asking us for advice about what this person needs to do next. Now, this person's called Terry. They didn't want to say where they play because they think that the people that they played with may know that this has happened.
Nice.
So Terry has written into us and said, "G'day, guys. I was playing at Thursday comp the other week, and I took out my 3-wood on a par 4 narrow hole. Just wanted to make sure I was in play. I topped it. It dribbled 5 feet in front of me and didn't get past the ladies. I ended up making 6 and getting a point, but that's not the point, according to Terry. The point is that when he sat down and had a beer with his playing partners after it, he forgot to buy them all a beer because he didn't hit past the ladies. This is his confessional. Now, he wants to know, should he bring it up because he's not sure whether they've brought it up when he left? Does he need to make amends for that? Or is that an antiquated, because we don't say ladies anymore, we say the reds or the blues tees, or the whites or the front tees or the back tees. Yeah. So does he still need to buy a round for all of his playing partners, his 3 playing partners, because he didn't hit it past the red tees?
I'll let you jump in after this, but I don't think Terry, it depends. Do you play with these guys regularly? If you're just joining a 4 and you're not a member of a club and you don't get it past the front tees, I don't think that rule is a, hard and fast rule in Australia in terms of, this is the expectation. I don't think that needs to be part of the hard and fast rule. If you play with these guys regularly, or if you've played with even one of them before and that has happened and you've been the beneficiary of a drink because someone didn't quite pull off the tee shot that they were hoping for, then I think you owe them a drink. I think you owe the group a drink if you've been a beneficiary of said rule before. So that would be where I would say, or that would where I'd put the foot down there, Sammy. What about you, mate?
Well, I'm with you. I think that if you have had someone buy you a drink for that reason and then you haven't, and it sounds to me like this is why. It sounds to me like this is why Terry's got a little bit nervous after the fact, is because it's happened and he's been the recipient of the drink before. But Terry, you go into the draw for one of the Callaway or Travis Matthew caps that we've got for the best Course Language confessionals that get sent our way. You can send yours, courselanguagepodcast@gmail. You can record it if you want. You can remain anonymous at Course Language Pod on Instagram. Your most embarrassing, but your funniest or your greatest moment on a golf course. We want to hear it all in the Course Language Confessional. Big thanks to Terry for sending that one through.
That was a confessional, wasn't it?
Yeah.
He's really confiding in whether or what does he do next. Go and buy him a drink if you're thinking about it, Terry. It might help you play better, I reckon.
I get why do I bring attention to it? So are you a worse bloke for not doing it, or does it highlight the fact after? I understand the conundrum that Terry's going through, so good luck with it. Let us know how you go, Tez. And big thanks to everyone that sends all of those in. We really do appreciate it. We're getting some great entries, and we look forward to bringing them all to you. So please keep sending them in, because it is the best thing about golf is the stories we tell when we sit on the 19th Lynchy with a beer in our hand, and you'd never guess what I did out there today. Or you wouldn't believe what I did when I was out there today. It's the best part of golf for mine. Hey, what's coming up for you this week?
I'm going to try to get out and play a round of golf this week. Fingers crossed, we'll see on Thursday.
Yeah, we might be heading up to play Gisborne, I think, on Thursday. Oh, nice. So looking forward to that. Meeting Polly up there, who has sent us in a Course Language Confessional, and we are still going through the editing process of that.
A lot of coaching this week. I'm looking forward to getting out there, out to Yarra Bend, and helping you or anyone else with their game.
Yeah, hit Lynchy up, ban Lynch McDade at Yarra Bend. They're at PK as well. If you want to get in touch with him, do it via his socials or do it via courselanguagepodcast@gmail.com. That's it for another week, Lynchy. And as always, for all of our Course Language members and for you, wherever you might be listening, thanks for listening to Course Language. Thanks to Callaway. And remember, what happens on course plays on Course Language.
Hit 'em well.